You Jimmy Tong?
That's who I am.
So how come you drive so fast?
More fierce?
Is that why you had...
I got mad skills, I will get wild. I got mad skills, I will get wild.
She's mine.
Oh, it's you, miss.
The story opens with a deer urinating in a river, followed by the reveal that the same water is later bottled as mineral water. At the bottling plant, Wallace, an employee secretly working as a spy, reports by phone that the mission has reached level 2 and requests a new agent. Before he can escape, he is exposed and killed by the villain's henchman. Meanwhile, Jimmy Tong is introduced as a taxi driver known for getting passengers to their destinations at record speed. In his spare time, he daydreams about asking Jennifer, who works at an art gallery, out on a date. He wants to confess that he often dreams about her, but his friend advises him to slow down and suggest lunch first. He also reminds Jimmy that they need to head out for their next fare. Jimmy visits the gallery and finds Jennifer admiring a painting. He tries to start a conversation by complimenting the colors. Jennifer asks for a moment. While waiting, the gallery owner approaches Jimmy and, realizing he knows nothing about art, tells him to stop wasting time and simply ask her out. Even rejection, he says, is better than uncertainty. Jimmy later waits in his taxi for Jennifer to finish work. Just as Jimmy gathers the courage to approach her, a cyclist crashes into his open car door. Furious, the cyclist attacks Jimmy. Jimmy ducks back into the taxi, slips out the opposite window, and narrowly avoids being hit by a limousine. He hides under the car as the cyclist jumps onto the roof. Jimmy's friend arrives and scolds him for damaging the freshly washed car. The cyclist turns on him, but the police arrive and scare the man away. When things settle, his friend jokes that he thought all Chinese people knew martial arts. Jimmy snaps back that not everyone born in China is Bruce Lee. Soon after, Jimmy finds a woman sitting in the back seat of his taxi. She gives him an address and demands to be taken there immediately. She asks if he is Jimmy Tong and introduces herself as Stina. While reviewing his record on her device, she asks why he drives so fast. Jimmy says it helps him earn more money. Stina points out that this is why his license has been suspended 9 times. Stina offers a challenge. If Jimmy can reach the destination before she finishes applying her makeup, she will pay double. Jimmy accelerates. Despite traffic forcing him to stop, he recovers by reversing at high speed and weaving through cars with precise control. He delivers Stina safely. Satisfied, Stina tells him the job is his. Confused, Jimmy says he already has work. When she asks his weekly income, he answers $475 plus tips. Stina offers $2,000 a week, also plus tips. Jimmy accepts immediately. He starts the next morning as the personal driver of Clark Devlin. Jimmy arrives at Clark's luxurious mansion, where Stina greets him and hands him a list of strict rules, including never speaking directly to Mr. Devlin. She also suggests he shave his chin beard. Jimmy asks if she enjoys working for Clark. She replies coldly that she does not work for him. Once in the driver's seat, Clark Devlin enters the car. Jimmy tries to glance at him through the rearview mirror, but Clark stops him and tells him to focus on the road. During the drive, Clark discusses Wallace's disappearance, noting that his longtime partner vanished without a trace. He orders the search intensified and asks Jimmy if he read the rules. Jimmy says yes. Clark smiles and says he hates rules. The best rule, he says, is to ignore them. He tells Jimmy to take the fastest route and turn up the music. Jimmy realizes Clark is more approachable than expected. At CSA headquarters, Wallace's death is officially reported. The cause is listed as drowning in a bathtub after a head injury. Blaine, a biological analysis scientist, disputes the finding. She explains that Wallace died from severe dehydration caused by blocked pulmonary veins. The water in his lungs came from bottled water containing an unknown bacterial strain. Impressed, the director offers her a role in a special operation. When Blaine asks about her assignment, the director mentions Clark Devlin. She admits she has only heard rumors. Stina enters but is cut off as the director asks Blaine to meet him upstairs in an hour, hinting she may become Clark's new partner. Later, Clark visits a shop that sells preserved insects. He flirts with the clerk and buys one. Jimmy watches in awe and awkwardly tries to copy Clark's confidence. Clark successfully asks the woman out to an upcoming event. Outside, Jimmy asks how Clark became so confident. Clark says it is the same instinct Jimmy uses when driving. Confidence. He adds that the woman at the art gallery is not out of reach. When Jimmy asks how he knows, Clark explains that he notices Jimmy staring at the gallery every time they pass it. Jimmy says he will never be like Clark. Clark reassures him, saying he is not as extraordinary as he seems. He only has good lines and expensive suits. Apart from that, they are quite similar. Jimmy jokes about Clark's $300 million. Clark replies that 90% goes to clothes and 10% is what is inside. Jimmy asks if he can take off his chauffeur's hat. Clark removes it, puts it back on Jimmy's head, then kindly allows him to take it off. While Jimmy loads items into the trunk, Clark gets into the car and calls Stina. He says he likes Jimmy and asks her to prepare a sharp suit for him. The day of the event arrives. Clark Devlin dances elegantly with the woman from the insect shop. From a distance, Jimmy watches and copies his moves. As the dance ends, a waiter stumbles and almost drops a tray of glasses. Clark reacts instantly and saves them with a single precise motion. Jimmy watches in amazement. Later, while adjusting Clark's tuxedo, Jimmy keeps staring at the suit. Distracted, he starts talking to himself, imitating Clark and pretending to be him. Clark suddenly appears and sternly reminds him of the one rule that must never be broken. Jimmy must never touch his tuxedo. Then, as if nothing happened, Clark tells him to get the car because they are going out to eat. Clark asks Jimmy what he wants. Jimmy says yes. Clark tells him to order anything and places a very specific order. 2 burgers with many conditions. The food arrives almost instantly, which amazes Jimmy. Clark then orders a personal pizza. When he opens the box, it is not a pizza at all. Inside, there is only an envelope. As they prepare to leave, Jimmy almost hits a young skateboarder. At the same time, another skater secretly attaches a tracking device to the car. Soon, a bomb is planted on a skateboard that chases them. Confused, Jimmy asks why a skateboard is following. Clark replies, "It's probably a bomb." Jimmy laughs at first, but quickly realizes the danger. He speeds away, yet the bomb catches up. They jump from the car seconds before it explodes. Clark is badly injured. Jimmy asks who is behind it. Clark whispers one name, the Weaver. Jimmy calls an ambulance. Clark warns him not to trust anyone, changes the name on his ID, gives Jimmy his watch, and instructs him to use the tuxedo. At the hospital, Clark is rushed into surgery, repeating the Weaver one last time. In the waiting room, Jimmy opens an envelope that flashes briefly, earning a scolding from a nurse. She then hands him a drawing from Clark's pocket showing a strange insect. Elsewhere, Dietrich Banning, owner of a bottled water company, meets a scientist. He explains why he chose Mr. Lai for testing. Soon, Mr. Lundy arrives. Dietrich mocks his haircut, offers water, and Lundy politely accepts. While drinking, Lundy notes Dietrich's plan would require everyone to drink only his water. Dietrich smiles. Suddenly, Lundy shows severe dehydration. Dietrich explains he is the first test subject. The water contains modified bacteria that force cells to release electrolytes, causing extreme dehydration. Within minutes, Lundy collapses, dried and lifeless. Dietrich plans to contaminate all water sources, leaving only his bottled water safe. Meanwhile, Jimmy searches Clark's mansion for clues. He tries on the tuxedo and discovers incredible abilities: combat, weapons, acrobatics, dancing, and spider-like movement. While testing it, he wrecks the mansion. Blaine calls, thinking he is Clark, and informs him about a meeting involving Dietrich. Jimmy asks about the Weaver. Blaine says she has never heard of it, then gives him a meeting code for the next day. At the location, Jimmy mistakes a stranger for Blaine and says the code. She slaps him and calls the police. Jimmy flees. Later, Blaine instructs him to meet at the dock that night and forget the code. That night, they meet. Blaine still thinks Jimmy is Clark and explains the mission. When she sees him clearly, she is disappointed, but Jimmy continues pretending. Blaine reveals Agent Wallace infiltrated Dietrich's operation and was killed after reporting the mission reached a critical stage. They climb a tower to spy on the meeting. Jimmy fires a tiny microphone from the tuxedo but accidentally knocks out a guard. On the second try, he succeeds. Dietrich tells executives that bottled water now costs more than gasoline and claims his filtration process protects against biological threats. Dietrich's men spot Jimmy and grab him with a rope. Jimmy activates combat mode and fights back. Blaine joins despite limited skills. Jimmy falls from the tower but climbs back using the suit's abilities. Believing the mission failed and Jimmy dead, Blaine flees. Jimmy activates speed mode, catches up, and jumps into her car. Instead of feeling relieved that her partner survived, Blaine erupts in anger. Jimmy tries to apologize, but when he touches her shoulder, the tuxedo reactivates combat mode and throws her to the floor. Later, during training, Blaine confides in Cena. She says that despite all the warnings about Clark being eccentric, what she saw felt like madness. She also mocks Clark's strange accent. Jimmy later visits Clark in the hospital when Blaine calls him. After last night's failure, she says they have only one option left. They must infiltrate an event attended by Dietrich. Jimmy suggests they might also encounter the mysterious Mr. Weaver there. Clark, weak and barely able to speak, manages to say one word: water. Jimmy removes his oxygen mask to hear him better, but a nurse rushes in, scolds him, and calls security. Jimmy and Blaine reach the event and sneak inside without tickets. Jimmy spots James Brown and persuades him to help them get front row access. When James taps Jimmy on the shoulder, the suit activates combat mode and knocks him unconscious. With no singer available, Jimmy activates the suit's vocal mode and delivers a stunning performance that captivates the audience, including Dietrich's fiancée. Jimmy dances with her to gather information, while Blaine sits with Dietrich and flirts to draw him out. Suddenly, one of Dietrich's men whispers in his ear. They realize Jimmy and Blaine are spies, since Jimmy arrived in Clark's easily traceable car. Smiling calmly, Dietrich hands his fiancée the key to his suite. She flirts with Jimmy and invites him upstairs. Jimmy follows her, unaware it is a trap, while Blaine monitors through a hidden camera. In the suite, the woman begins undressing Jimmy. At the same time, Blaine is attacked from behind and dragged into a pool, where a thug tries to drown her. Back in the room, two goons attack Jimmy. Still half-dressed, he slips into the tuxedo pants mid-fight and knocks one out. More attackers rush in. Jimmy fights while fastening his suit, then fully suited, takes them down with acrobatic precision. From the window, Jimmy sees Blaine being held underwater. A goon slips and falls out the window, crashing onto another attacker. Blaine escapes the pool, and they flee the suite together. While running, Blaine reveals she discovered Dietrich's secret laboratory hidden in his home. She also admits her real name is Delilah. They later sneak into a lavish party at Dietrich's mansion. Jimmy clones stolen access cards, and they blend in by dancing. They notice men moving suspicious containers and follow them through a hidden pool entrance into an underground lab. There, they uncover Dietrich's plan to poison water supplies by releasing bacteria. Security detects them, but Jimmy activates optical camouflage, and they escape unnoticed. Back at the party, Jimmy prepares to confess the truth to Blaine, but she receives a call from the agency. Stina reviews footage and discovers Jimmy is not Agent Clark, but a taxi driver. Enraged, Blaine drags Jimmy into a bathroom, aims a gun at him, and orders him to remove the suit. Jimmy explains Clark asked him to continue the mission to find Mr. Weaver. Blaine refuses to believe him. When Blaine leaves, Dietrich's men capture her. To prove loyalty, she hands over the tuxedo while secretly activating a tracking signal. Jimmy nearly gives up, until he realizes Weaver is an insect that can walk on water. He also finds a second tuxedo made specifically for him. Clark believed in his potential. Jimmy dons the new suit and returns. In the lab, Blaine learns the bacteria will spread through modified water-walking insects that bypass sensors and only target warm regions. Dietrich puts on the tuxedo and gains its powers. Alarms sound. Jimmy is brought in as a prisoner, then reveals he has another suit. He defeats the guards and frees Blaine. A brutal fight follows. Dietrich overpowers Jimmy. Blaine damages the control panel with water, forcing the gate to be opened manually. Dietrich attacks again and pins Jimmy down. Jimmy distracts him by forcing the suit to light a cigarette, then throws the container holding the Queen Weaver into Dietrich's mouth. The insects swarm him, and he dies from extreme dehydration. Agents arrive at last. The agency chief congratulates them and grants Jimmy a favor. The agency helps him try to meet Jennifer. The operation fails. Conflicting advice causes Jimmy to act strangely, and Jennifer threatens him with pepper spray. Later, Blaine comforts Jimmy and admits she was moved by what he did. Jimmy jokes that she should be less harsh if she wants a relationship. They exchange smiles and walk off together toward a diner, and with that the story ends here. The movie shows that confidence and quick thinking can turn ordinary people into heroes. Teamwork and trust are essential to overcome dangerous situations. Courage often means stepping out of your comfort zone to do what is right.